Okay, welcome back to Adam's Acoustic Arsenal. We're going to do something a little bit different today. I don't have a guitar in my hand because when I started this channel, I said there were going to be all things acoustic. And part of that is music recommendations for you, gear reviews down the road, music maybe you haven't heard of before. And so today, I want to share with you the top 5 albums that I've listened to over the last 5 years. And one of the albums really crosses over to an entire discography. But I'm going to save that one for last. Now, some of these folks you may have heard of, some of them you may not. If you have heard of them, let me know if you love them or hate them in the comments. If you haven't, check them out, because a couple of these folks are up and coming, and one of them has been up and coming for a while, but if you haven't heard this music, it's just wonderful storytelling. So, we're going to get started. Check out the top 5 albums that I've been listening to for the last year. Okay, in no particular order. I don't love these in 1 through 5. It's just, here we go. Number 1, John Prine, self-titled John Prine. Now, I've been listening to John Prine for almost 20 years. I heard the song Paradise when I was a kid, and I'm from Kentucky, and Paradise talks about Muhlenberg County, and so I was just infatuated with that song because it was the first song that I remember hearing that talked about the place where I'm from. And so for the rest of my life, I have listened to John Prine. I've tried to play John Prine songs. I've listened to interviews with him. I love his music. So he died from COVID in 2020. And I'm sure that if you were paying attention at all and you like this channel, you've probably already listened to John Prine. But I have recirculated through his debut album, and it is so good. Angel from Montgomery is ridiculous. Paradise is ridiculous. Hello in There is ridiculous. Sam Stone. Some of the writing on that album is just... it's incredible for a person of any age. But when you think about how young he was when that album came out, it's just hard to imagine writing that kind of music. For me, 10 or 12 years ago. There's no way I could have done it. Which is why John Prine's great. So, number 1 for me is John Prine. Number 2, focusing on the fact that John Prine was young, let's talk about Colter Wall. Colter Wall is from Saskatchewan, Canada, and he's got this voice. I'm going to use an old gospel example. J.D. Sumner. J.D. Sumner allegedly has the lowest recorded note ever. I think there's some controversy around that. But my picture in my head of J.D. Sumner is of a 75 or 80-year-old man. Colter Wall is 25 right now. When his album Imaginary Appalachia came out, he was 20 years old. And his voice on that album just sounds like a 60-year-old man that's just lived a rough life. And that's kind of the beauty of it, is there's a weird juxtaposition between his age, his voice, and the stories that he tells. A couple of songs on that album that really stand out are Kate McCannon. It's a gritty, no-nonsense, completely gutsy murder ballad. Michael Palmisano, the guitar teacher on YouTube, did a reaction video for it. If you haven't checked that out, I'll put a link to it. It's really great. But Kate McCannon is an amazing song. The Devil Wears a Shirt and Tie, or Suit and Tie, is really good. It's kind of about the legend of Robert Johnson and then selling his soul to the devil at the crossroads. And then Sleeping on the Blacktop is great. Colter Wall is amazing. He's got a couple albums out. You should check him out. He's got a lot of dynamic stuff going on in his music. But his voice and his storytelling, top notch. Alright, number 3. This one's probably going to throw you for a loop. This is one of my favorite actors, who also happens to be an excellent songwriter, is Jeff Daniels. And this is his Acoustic Sittin Tour 2018. This is a live album where he's, it's basically a one-man show. He has a couple songs on there with his son. But Jeff Daniels is known for some pretty iconic roles. And a lot of them are comedy roles. He was in Dumb and Dumber 2. But those are not the ones that really I remember him for. I remember him for Fly Away Home, Arachnophobia, The Newsroom. He was in The Martian. He played James Comey recently. The guy's career has been exceptional. But his songwriting really kind of emulates his career because he's had some really dramatic and serious roles, and he's also had some hilarious roles. And this album in particular, Acoustic Sittin Tour, the live album, spans all of those things. You have really funny opening numbers like 50 Shades of Grey, and then you also have things that are super dramatic, that just are introspective and make you think about life. And while his voice is not a classic voice, it feels emotional, and the voice is fitting for the lyrics and the way that he plays the guitar. So if you haven't listened to that, it's really great. Number 4 is Tyler Childers' Hard Times. Now, this album came out in 2011, and he's had 2 albums since then. They're both really good. But Hard Times is the one that put him on the map. And it's because the music in that album is just screaming with desperation. And what I mean by that is it really it puts a microscope on a part of the country that it often gets overlooked. And I couldn't be happier with the music that's on that album, because it just makes you realize that not everybody is lucky and privileged, and a lot of people have a hard time getting up the ladder, and that maybe sometimes we just need to pay a little bit more attention. Okay, number 5, and this is the one that is kind of a discography. I didn't discover Jason Isbell until probably 2016 or 2017. May have been after the Nashville Sound came out. But the album Southeastern is the one that kind of he bust open with his solo career. And it's great. Elephant and Live Oak are 2 songs that I listen to at least once a week. And both of them just punch me in the gut every time. My wife thinks that it's weird that I listen to music that punches me in the gut. I can't help it. It is who I am. But Southeastern is an album that really put Jason Isbell on, I don't want to say the pedestal, but it sort of put him on the mountaintop of lyricist. And he's an exceptional guitar player as well, but his lyric writing is second to none. Everything makes sense. Everything is smooth. Even when it's gritty, it's smooth. But Southeastern is great. His latest album, Reunions, came out earlier this year in May of 2020, and which I guess was last year now. But in May of 2020 it came out, and it took me 2 or 3 weeks to kind of get my head wrapped around it. But once I did, I love Reunions as much as anything. But if you haven't listened to Jason Isbell, Southeastern's an exceptional album. Something More Than Free is really, really good. The Nashville Sound is phenomenal. There's so much good stuff on the Nashville Sound, and everything's really dynamic. And then Reunions is kind of a callback to, wouldn't say classic rock, but there's some Dire Straits feels in it. There's some acoustic stuff in it. When he did his launch party, he did a Facebook Live, or he did a YouTube Live, or some kind of live stream of the concert, because it was in the middle of COVID. And he talked about that he didn't use a capo for the entire album, which is just incredible, because a lot of his other stuff previously has been capoed and whatever to get the right key. But anyway, you should check out Reunions. You should check out all of Jason Isbell's catalog. For right now, those are the 5 albums, 5 artists that I'm listening to the most. And that changes all the time. I hear new things all the time. And I'm going to update this once every 6 months or so and just share something new that I've discovered. So, thanks for watching today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Share it with somebody that might like it too. Have a great day.